They said they were coming to visit. Almost laughed when I saw the message. We'll be bringing a surprise for you. Two, they wrote as if that would erase 2 decades of what they did. I didn't reply right away. I let the words sit. They're glowing on the screen, they're fake. Warmth bleeding through the letters. Then I typed slowly, deliberately, keep the surprise to yourselves. I moved states 2 years ago and I never want to see you again. Send silence. And for the first time in my life, peace. When people talk about family, they talk about warmth. Mine was cold steel. My parents loved the image of having a child, not the reality of raising one. To them, I was decoration, a reflection of their success, something to mold, not love. Every time I brought home a report card, they'd compare me to someone better. Every time I cried, they'd call me dramatic. When I turned 18, my father said, "You're on your own now. Don't embarrass us." They didn't kick me out, not physically, but emotionally. I was exiled years before that. I still tried to please them. God knows why. Maybe it was habit, maybe hope. Even when I moved out, I'd call, text, visit. They'd ignore me unless they needed something. Money, help, validation. Then came the message 3 years ago. My mother's name flashed on the screen. Your father's sick. We need help with the bills. Wired them everything I had saved. The down payment for my first apartment. And then I found out the truth. My father wasn't sick. They'd used the money to buy a new car, a luxury SUV, the one they deserved all their lives. That was the moment something inside me froze and stayed frozen. I didn't confront them, didn't scream. I disappeared, changed numbers, sold everything that tied me to that place, moved 2 states away and built a life from nothing. New job, new apartment, new name on the lease. No calls, no birthdays, no guilt. For 2 years I heard nothing. Then this morning the text, "We're coming to visit. We'll be bringing a surprise for you too." The audacity almost impressed me. Almost. You see, they think I'm still the child they could guilt trip into forgiveness. They don't know I'm not the same person who used to beg for scraps of affection. They don't know that when I left, I made sure to leave everything. The bank accounts they used my name on, I closed them. The house they put under my name to avoid taxes, I transferred it legally to a women's shelter organization I'd been supporting quietly for years. Every asset they'd ever tied to me for their own benefit, gone legally, cleanly, irreversibly. They'd discover that soon enough. Didn't do it to spite them. I did it to sever the last chain. When I hit send on that final message, I wasn't angry. Was calm, cold, controlled, because the real revenge wasn't in blocking them or vanishing. It was in knowing they'd eventually come looking, thinking they still had access to me, to what I owned, to what they thought was theirs, and they'd find nothing. No address, no forwarding contact, only dead ends and unanswered questions. That was my revenge. Silence. No confrontation, no closure for them. Only the echo of their own emptiness. I imagine the scene, sometimes, them standing outside the old apartment they sold years ago, expecting me to open the door. My mother clutching some cheap wrapped box labeled surprise. My father pretending he never did anything wrong and finding strangers living there instead. I hope they stand there long enough for the truth to sting, that they didn't just lose a daughter, they lost access to the only person who ever still believed in them. Some people say forgiveness frees you. They're wrong. This distance that frees you. Boundaries, final ones. When I blocked their number after that last text, I didn't feel regret. I felt light, like I'd stepped out of a burning house and finally realized I'd been choking on smoke my whole life. The surprise they wanted to bring, I already know what it was. probably guilt wrapped in smiles, maybe even an apology. The kind that comes only when people need something again. But I don't need it. Not anymore. It's strange. They taught me cruelty without compassion. And in return, I learned silence without weakness. If they ever find this message or hear these words, I hope they finally understand. You can't treat someone like a mistake and expect to be part of their success story. I am not your daughter anymore. I am the consequence of your choices. And that's a surprise you'll never unwrap.